Welcome to another episode of Craven Comics. This is Brett Duke.
And Ricky Andresen.
And we're bringing to you one of the most popular comics right now that is on the market, The Walking Dead Vol.1.
That's right. It's full of zombies, intrigue, drama, something you can read or watch. So a lot of people love it.
Exactly. I mean, I don't know anyone who isn't watching The Walking Dead right now. It is actually the most popular show on cable right now. And with it being already in the issue 140s right now, we thought, why don't we go back to the basics? Let's see how it was at the beginning. Was it always this exciting, or did it have to build up to it?
That's right. Definitely not too late to start reading this awesome series of comic books. So we wanted to go back to Volume 1 of the graphic novel, The Walking Dead, and just ask some questions. So Brett's our expert for this episode, and I'll be interviewing him about the book. Okay, Brett. So one question I hear a lot about this book is it like a TV show at all?
Yes and no.
Okay.
So, for example, there's little things that are different from the TV show and from the movie and from the comic. So, for example, Carl in the comic, he is actually only a child of like 6-7 years old. That's it.
Huh. Okay, pretty big difference.
Yeah, because in the TV show, I mean, he's a teenager pretty much by now, but when he first started, he was about 12-13 years old. So, I mean, understand it's only a couple years difference, but at that kind of age and as a child, it's a big difference.
That probably changes the dynamic of his role in the story a lot.
Exactly.
Interesting.
But there are a lot of similarities as well. For example, Rick, at the very beginning of episode 1 in the show, he wakes up in the hospital. The same exact thing happens in the comic, where everything's deserted. He doesn't know why he can't get a nurse to come help him out or a doctor to come see him. Starts walking around and starts seeing that the world's changed a little bit since he last woke up.
Quite the same rosy Georgia he left behind.
Exactly.
What about Daryl? What changes do we see with him in the show and the comic book?
Daryl, this is where a lot of people get surprised. Daryl's not in the comic at all.
Really?
At all.
Does anybody have a crossbow in the comic?
Not in the first volume. I mean, there's not even anyone really with a sword, hint hint.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's mainly just guns, it's just regular human beings. There's no Daryl, there's no Merle, it's just kind of like the other normal people. We have Lori, we have Shane, we have Rick, of course, and Carl, and then the others, Dale, but there's no, at all, even today in issue 144, there is no Merle or Daryl at all.
It's really interesting. So, a lot of the same characters. Some characters take on kind of a different form between the book and the show, and some characters just don't exist. That's good to know.
Exactly.
So, Brett, out of all these characters we've covered, who would be your favorite?
See, that's a tough one, and the comic you become really attached to these people, just like you are in the show.
Sure.
And I gotta say, I mean, if I had to, it would have to be Rick. And in the show, he's not my favorite. So
Okay.
This is why I'm not trying to be too favoritism of anything. But Rick, he's still at the part where he is just very happy. He's confused. He's happy that his family's still alive. And it's just really interesting being able to see what he was like at the beginning. Because, I mean, he was still willing to help out others. He wasn't willing to just, fend for yourself kind of thing, because it's a zombie apocalypse.
Sure. Good leader.
Yeah, and he looks very different compared to the comic to the show, but still, it fits. But I'd have to say it would have to be him, just because he does take that leadership role, and the way that Robert Kirkman writes him into what he says and what he does, it's very well done. That he's just wanting to just do what's right, even in this zombie apocalypse where it's dog eat dog.
Or person eat person.
Or that, yeah.
Or person eat dog, eat person.
Sometimes it's person eat horse.
Yes. Okay, Brett, so we've talked a little about the show versus the comic. Let's just focus on the comic itself. Why don't you give me kind of your review of it, your take, give it a grade, tell us what people can expect if they want to read Volume 1 of The Walking Dead.
So I would grade this an A. Not an A+, but an A. because they were a little gutsy on one aspect that you don't normally see in comics nowadays, and that gutsiness is it's all black and white.
Oh, I thought you were going to say gutsy because they're actually guts on all the pages, which would make sense. But I guess that wouldn't be gutsy because people expect that.
Exactly.
So it's black and white.
Yeah. So it's black and white, so there's no color or anything, and it fits for some reason. While reading it, of course, the first issue or two, you're wondering, why are they doing this? I mean, did they just have a low budget, they couldn't find anyone? Because, I mean, it's not like they were always this big right from the get-go.
Right.
But you can just tell that with this book, it fits really well on it being black and white. And actually, going to the TV show, there are features where you can actually watch the TV show in black and white if you wanted to, because of the way the comic is.
Interesting take on transferring that medium over. That's really interesting.
Yep, so for those that haven't read it because they watched the TV show, the thing is you're still going to be surprised. I'm caught up on the TV show, and I read this and I was still surprised because of the differences between what maybe Carl does compared to what he does in the show, Rick and Shane's relationship and how that is, and then of course how Lori plays into this whole thing because, well, Lori always seems to be caught in the middle of things.
It's interesting.
It's very good. It's very interesting. It's a page turner. So once you pick this up, I'm pretty sure you're not going to put it down. You are going to continue reading it until you're done with it, and then you're going to waste your money, even if you have to put on credit to get the second volume.
There you go. So, a caution to not start unless you're ready to finish, perhaps.
Exactly. Because you know what? You might miss your homework, you might miss some work, or you might just stay up a little too late.
You might get eaten by a zombie.
There you go.
Well, Brett, I like it. I hope people out there are excited for The Walking Dead and to read the comic book Origins if they haven't. Maybe they'll be checking out the TV show. So, of course, we're here in the Nerd Store. Right before we finish, why don't you tell us a little bit about this great place?
So the Nerd Store, this is the place that you're able to pretty much find so many comics that maybe your collection is missing. You're able to find them on Facebook, or if you just ask them a question on there, maybe they might have, you're missing an issue that, well, you've been looking for a while. Charles, the store owner, he checks his Facebook quite often, the store's Facebook. So you can check that out, ask him a question, whether it's dealing with toys, statues, comics, or pop toys. That's another one of the things that the store is very well known for, is a lot of different pop toys from across the United States.
It's true.
Yep. So thank you for tuning in. Please leave us a review, and you can always check us on our podcast as well on iTunes at Craven Comics. And signing off, this is Brett Duke.
And Rick Anderson. See you next time.
You stay close.